out of syncs, worse performance, and a huge power creeping economy. All known issues by the devs, which in this dev diary, we get a look at their priority list, targets, and some huge news on economic changes coming soon. Let's get into it. The ongoing plan. There's currently a 4.1.6 open beta on Steam, which they've recently updated with a fix to slavery production bonuses. There's a list with the new things added to that. We have a few improvements, a balance change, a bunch of bug fixes, an AI, and increasing stability. However, let's look at a roadmap for the next few months. The near future. We're currently integrating localization files into the 4.1.6 branch and submitting it for certification. So 4.1.6 will be out soon. If everything goes to plan, it should be released early next week. Fixes will continue as part of 4.1.7, which like 4.1.6 should remain as an open beta for a few weeks. The beta things is something new. I believe it's so they can get around waiting for the Steam certification. It can be up as a beta so you can use it, but it can't go into the live version until Steam verify it. It also helps them check for bugs and any extra fixes, which is pretty nice. I do like this way of doing the updates. So in 4.1.7, they've nerfed political power from the Cradle of Souls trait. Cybernetic and Cyber Commando traits now allow species to live on machine worlds, even outside of a driven assembly. That's pretty interesting. They've buffed hard reset origin by giving Opus Core size 25. Extra dimensional experimentation increases physicist output and gives them the zero upkeep. And then cybernetic creed empires with civil education no longer start with a massive consumer goods deficit. I don't know how you balance that, just maybe more consumer good buildings, I guess. We then have a bunch of bug fixes again, getting us up to a nice, hopefully bug-free 4.1 as much as it can. So what's after this? Their order of priorities for the Custodian programmers are currently get the overall multiplayer out of sync rate back to 4.0.23 levels. And 4.0.23 was actually pretty stable. It took them 23 attempts, but it got there. I would like it to be better, but hopefully that's on the list still. They're actually currently a bit better than this target as of 4.1.5, but if it slips back up, it will become the first priority again. This is because every update has the potential to add an out of sync that they couldn't really test for. Focus on performance improvements to get average overnight daily tick times for 300-year games under 375 milliseconds, which was what 3.14 targeted for. This is a bit annoying to see because 4.0 was meant to perform better than 3.14 and now we're trying to target to get there. Hopefully eventually it can get better than that, but I think it's just frustrating for everyone. Reduce the multiplayer out of sync rate for desyncs that reoccur after resyncing to 60% of the 4.0.23 rate. Basically the cascading out of syncs they want to reduce. Continue working on performance improvements to get overnight average daily tick times for 300 years under 350 milliseconds, which would be better than 3.14. I'm glad that's on the list. This target approximates the state of the game between the releases of First Contact and Galactic Paragons. Wait, so 3.14 performed worse than those updates? That's quite insane. Rewrite how slavery is implemented. That's so vague. I don't know what they mean by that. It is a bit weird at the minute. It would be nice to have slavery as a viable strat, and weird sentence to say, but that's Stellaris for you. After this, work will continue on these in parallel. Reduce the multiplayer out of sync rate for desyncs that reoccur after resyncing to 30% of the 4.0.23 rate, which would bring us to levels that are notably better than the historic average. That would be great. Continue working on performance to get down to 300 millisecond average daily tick, which approximates the performance before the release of Overlord. That's when things got out of hand because of orbital rings and vassals being OP. That would be so nice if we could get to that level of performance again and just keep it going down. You can see there's quite a big ceiling for improvements since these are just being listed off, which I think is the positive for 4.0. The ceiling for improvements very high. We just need to iterate a lot on it until we can get to that. Rewrite how ethics, divergence, and factions are implemented. Internal politics DLC soon. I don't really have a massive problem with them, but it is quite limiting if you wanted to make a DLC on it, I guess. And then we have a nice graph showing the percentage of out of syncs over time since the 4.0 release. You can see 4.0 was insane. The target one, we were getting closer and closer. And then there was a huge update that actually brought it down a lot. Then I think 4.1 was released and it went up back to basically 4.0 levels, and now it's come back down again, which is great. I'm trying to hit 100k subscribers by the end of the year, a lofty task. I hope you can help me out. It's free and it's much appreciated. The designers of the Custodian team are splitting their time between post-release support, helping with the ship experiments that we've been over before, and a broad economic balance parse. Now I think the ship design and economic balance parse will really help out the state of the game, the lag, and the huge power creep. As always, these plans are subject to change. change, especially if a spicy target of opportunity presents itself for gains or other critical issues arise. Ethics divergence, for example, might increase in priority if we think it will significantly help reaching a 300 millisecond target. So those are aims that are flexible, so don't take them as this will happen. When November approaches, we are planning on switching the open beta branch over to a 4.2.0 open beta that will contain a safe-ish change to how modifiers are handled. Oh, we're getting a massive modifier nerf, this is great, which is expected to provide some hardware-dependent performance improvements. So not all PCs are going to see an improvement. The 4.2.0 beta will also include improved performance and desync telemetry to help us track down issues. Telemetry is basically automated data collection, which means hopefully they have to rely less on the reports, which might not have all the data they need, to an automated system that lets them see all the outer syncs and any data related to helping them track down the issues and hopefully keep fixing those. The first modifier change is considered relatively safe, but must still go through an open beta as modifiers are such a foundational part of the game. That's true. I wonder what they're going to change here. Ideally, this modifier change will go live alongside Infernal Species Pack in 4.2, but if the open beta shows issues, it'll stay in that branch until we solve them. So 4.2 might have big economic nerfs, might not, depends how game breaking they are. Post 4.2, the open beta will turn into a longer running 4.3 open beta, which will be updated at a regular cadence. This open beta will include more aggressive modifier optimizations that we do not feel are safe enough to include in 4.2. After a few weeks, if they continue to show promise, the ship experiments and economic balance branches will be merged into the open beta. The 4.3 open beta will run over the holidays, with regular updates until it releases at some point in Q1 2026. The ship experiment and economic balance branches will be considered experimental, but this open beta will be maintained separately from the main 4.3 branch. So we'll retain the ability to either revert the changes or to keep them in the open beta for longer if future release is desired. So what does this mean? Basically, there's going to be minor economic changes that we'll most likely see in 4.2 Infernals, which we're getting at some point this year. There's only 2 months left. This will hopefully slow the power creep down a little bit. Now there's a lot of more aggressive changes as well as the ship changes that they're going to then put in the open beta after 4.2, an experimental branch which you can try out and see how it runs. We had the same for the technology, which did get a nerf, but it was way less significant to what they had, which could be the case with the economic balance passes and ship designs. They might pull it back a little bit but still go with it slightly. To be honest, with the amount of modifiers and stuff we can get in 4.0, tech is still just really insane. They nerfed it only for it to get better. I'm looking forward to this. I like the betas because it means we can give feedback without it being in the game and they can go back on it. What's next? Next week, we'll continue with more information on the upcoming patches. See you then. I wonder when we'll get the Infernal Dev Diaries. If you enjoyed this video, click here to watch How to Rush Become the Crisis, or Galactic Nemesis as it's known now, in my Every Click series. Episode 1 is live now. Click it now.